I'm Jamie Horton, today's host for the gallery at the Media Center. I'm here with Mark Person, who is a journalist, a publisher, and the featured artist beginning at the second week in May here at the Cape Cod Community Media Center in Dennisport, Massachusetts. So Mark, tell me about yourself and about your craft.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. First of all, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Mark Person, and I am from Georgia. Born in Georgia. Actually, born in Phoenix City, Alabama, which is right across the border from Georgia. And I've been here on the Cape for about 30 years, off and on. I've been taking photographs for about the last 5 years or so, and the series that I'm going to work on and the exhibit that I'm working on here is called Staying Grounded. Staying Grounded is very dear to me. I had the opportunity to travel around the U.S., primarily on the East Coast, and find various subjects. For instance, the Slave Museum in Charleston, South Carolina, called Commerce. It's a slave mart where they actually sold slaves. And I try to find subject matters from the images. That image I call Commerce, just the facade of the Slave Museum down in Charleston, South Carolina. A very powerful image, but it's a part of my history. So I try to evoke from my ancestors, and when I'm taking a photograph, to me, it's just not a photograph, it is a story. So that's what I'm going to be bringing here to the Media Center, and I'm honored to bring these images. It's actually, in fact, on permanent collection at the Zion Union Heritage Museum in Hyannis on North Street, 276 North Street. And it has been traveling since August. It was actually PAC Television, PAC TV in Plymouth, Massachusetts in August, and from January to March, it was over at the Groton School. It's Groton public school, the Groton private school in Groton, Massachusetts, one of the top schools in the world, private schools in the world, prep schools in the world. And so it was there, and now it's actually at the Middleborough Public Library. Now, actually, it'll be there until the end of this month in April, and then we're going to bring it here. But it's a very important. It's images of cotton fields. The Tuskegee Airmen. I had the opportunity as a photojournalist to capture the Red Tails movie in Tuskegee, in Tuskegee, Alabama, at Tuskegee University, and of course, the Tuskegee Airmen were these elite fighters, African-American fighters back in World War II that didn't have the opportunity to really fly and fight the Germans at the time, but then when they got their opportunity, they were absolutely the best.
To prove their worth, right? Yep.
Exactly. So that's kind of my story with the Staying Grounded exhibit. Is a very important exhibit to me, and it's very educational. I try to not only have it in museums, but in public libraries and media centers, and eventually it will travel around the world. It's the photographs of a family reunion photograph of my family in Georgia. It's about a plethora of all of my family members. I'll say all of them, but I think I missed about 50 of them, but it was about 100 as a photograph we call family that you guys will see and I have on display. A beautiful photograph. I call it family because I wanted everyone to look at their own family, whether it's the Irish American or Italian American. It just so happened that I'm African American. So it's typically the hit of the show, that particular image, because people look at it and they think of their own family. And but the show is very spiritual. I have an image behind me here of St. Francis that's called Trust, because you have to trust and believe. And then I have an image that you will see in the exhibit that's called Faith, and it's a statue of Jesus Christ. So that's pretty much in essence what I will bring, and I'm very honored to bring it here. And thank you guys so much for the opportunity.
Well, we do our best to help local artists get as much exposure as possible. Not only will we feature your artwork, again, beginning the Second week in May here at the Cape Cod Community Media Center at 17 Shad Hole Road in Dennisport, Massachusetts. But also this video, which will include examples of your various photography, will be posted online and will be all over social media. We have our own Facebook account, so we'll be posted there, and hopefully it'll get you a lot more exposure.
Well, I really appreciate that. I brought an image here that's called Finding Peace. And Finding Peace, this image here is actually, I happen to be a publisher. I'm in the process of finishing up a book called Finding Peace Through Photography. And I brought this image here because that's the book cover. That's when I took my first shot. It's on Long Beach in Centerville, which is abuts Craigville Beach. And it's a very spiritual beach because you have the Centerville River going through, and then you have the Cape Cod Bay, and then you have this beautiful peninsula that's called Long Beach. And at that particular time, I took my first photograph, and this is one of my first photographs. And it's a very powerful image. I typically go through things. So definitely, I would love for you guys to showcase the work, and I really appreciate that. But
yeah, this is very startling. It has a three-dimensional quality with the shallow depth of field, so it really kind of is, the grass in the foreground really jumps out at you.
Thank you. I try to go through things. I'm going through the posts here, the pilings, and typically that's kind of somewhat my style, because typically we always have to go through things to get through things, whether it's our health or it's a family, it's life, ebb and flow. And at this time, I was going through both of them, and that's how I started doing photography. And, so to me, when I'm taking a photo, I don't feel that so much yes, of course I'm a photographer for me, but every image is a story. And I call this Finding Peace because I was finding my peace in the background. My ex-wife, which is a very good friend of mine, but she was finding her peace. You can't really see it because she's like right in front of the beautiful black tree that's going back there, the pine tree on the beach. She was finding her peace. We knew we were going through a divorce, and that's how I became a photographer, by going through things. And some images that I will have here, you see me going through various things, or I got caught or actually lost in the cotton field as I was driving home to Georgia from here. And wow, it was interesting. I was just doing did a CD cover for Smokey Robinson's bass player. His name is Gary Foote, and did it in Harlem. I had the opportunity to do it in Harlem, and I did after the photo shoot, and we did the CD cover. I went home to see my family in Georgia, and I had a navigation system in my car, and somehow I was lost in the middle of a cotton field. And that cotton field happened to be Harlem, Georgia, right outside of Augusta, Georgia. And I brought my camera, took my camera out, and I took these beautiful photographs. And I think I was meant to be there to just, I call the exhibit Staying Grounded, because to remember who I am, no matter what we go through in our life or what have you. And I try to take each image. I really, truly do. With every image that I take, I try to evoke from my ancestors, from my spirit, from my soul, and try to capture it. And every image has a story, and it's my captions, it's my titles, but those titles it's a marriage between the two. And it's imperative that, and that's what the book is going to be about, Jamie. It's going to be about just the image and then just the caption. And it's up to everyone to look at it and get what they want from it. But for me, it's my story, but yet it's everyone's story. So that's kind of how I look at it and everything like that.
Not exclusive to the artist, but everyone can look at your artwork and find something in their lives to liken it to.
Yeah, Jamie, every day we're driving by or we're walking by beauty. And we happen to be living on the Cape Cod, and of course I'm living in Middleborough now. And but I spent so much time here, and it's one of the most beautiful places here in the world. Or I'm in Boston, or wherever I'm at, we are driving by, and sometimes we don't realize it. Right. So I try to capture it with my camera, and try to capture that beauty, and that's what I think the beauty of life is. And most people come to me and say, Mark, wow, it's just so simple. I try not to be complicated with the camera. I try to capture the beauty of this world, and that's how. And then that is the story for me.
Well, it says St. Francis himself observed that nature itself contains its own beauty. So really, you're just helping bring that out and exposing it to the world, reminding us of the inherent beauty in natural things. So would you say that your spirituality is expressed in your artwork?
Well, both of my parents are ministers, and yes, it is. I grew up, it's about faith. In fact, I have a gorgeous image. I think I spoke, I said it earlier, of beautiful image of Jesus Christ I caught at this gorgeous church in Orleans here on the Cape, of statue of Jesus Christ. And his hands are out, shadows of the trees trickling down his face, and almost like the eye of Jesus is there, right? And it looks so real. And I call that faith, because without faith, we have nothing. And, so every image to me is trust with St. Francis, trust. Or yes, so I have a beautiful image of Dr. Martin Luther King, a statue of Dr. Martin Luther King in Washington, D.C. And I call that dream. And it's metaphors in a way, because I call that dream, not only because, of course, we all know in 1963, he had that beautiful speech, one of the most beautiful speeches, I Have a Dream speech. But to me, it was my grandfather, spent some time with my grandfather in Alabama when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and he allowed me to dream. So I use that to think about how my life, how it affected me, and that's the image, and that image is going to be in the show of Dr. Martin Luther King, and various things like that. Or, I have this beautiful image of cotton fields, and I was able to go low and capture this beautiful, in color, of the plethora of cotton, and I call that Georgia gold, because, it's all about money, Or as I said earlier about the Slave Museum, I have an image here, I don't know how well we can see it, but of the Slave Museum, and I call that commerce, because really that's what it was about, making money. But yet, it's my spirit, it's about my faith, and it's about, I grew up in the 60s, so I cannot hide from that. I have to be able to stay grounded.
Right in the midst of social change.
Exactly, exactly. And so it's a part of the faith, it's a part of who I am, to be proud of who I am, and to share it with the world. And that's why I'm so proud of staying grounded, and I'm honored to have you guys showcase it here. I really appreciate that.
Well, you're very welcome. So again, I'm here with Mark Person, and he is the featured artist here at the Cape Cod Community Media Center in Dennisport, Massachusetts. And his photography will be on display beginning the second week of May and runs till the end of the month?
End of the month, end of the month.
He will also have a reception. There'll be some appetizers, and you can meet the artist himself. The time and date is displayed here at the bottom of the screen, and we hope to see you here. Mark, thanks again for coming.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate everything. And the book should be out, God willing. I'm working on the book of about 20% to do of images. I'm just trying to find it. It's hard to rush it because it's about the spirit with me. And so as soon as I get that, the book is going to be called Finding Peace Through Photography, and please support it. It's going to be really beautiful, I truly believe. Thank you.
Excellent.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. This has been The Gallery at the Media Center, and I've been your host, Jamie Horton. We'll see you here at the reception and to check out the wonderful photography from photographer Mark Person.